I remember the first time. It happened on a night just like this. Rain tapped persistently against the window panes, forming rivulets that trickled down in a steady, hypnotic rhythm. Alone in my creaky old house, nestled on the outskirts of town, I found the sound initially comforting. That was before the whispering started. It was so soft at first, almost like the sighing of the wind through the trees outside my bedroom. But as the night deepened, the whispers grew louder, more urgent. I couldn't make out what they were saying, but the tone, unnervingly insistent, set my nerves on edge. I pulled the covers tighter around me, trying to shut out the sounds, but they seeped into my room, winding around me like cold fingers. That night, as I lay paralyzed by fear, the temperature in the room dropped sharply. My breath formed puffs of vapor in the air, and I shivered uncontrollably, not just from the cold but from the mounting dread. The whispers crescendoed into murmurs, and then, without warning, everything went silent. The abruptness of it was almost worse than the whispers themselves. Suddenly, a loud bang echoed from downstairs. It jolted me from my bed, heart racing. I grabbed a flashlight and crept to the door. My hand shook as I turned the knob, the metal cold and slick under my sweaty palm. The house was pitch black, the power apparently out. Only the sound of the rain, now a torrential downpour, filled the silence. As I descended the stairs, the beam from my flashlight cut through the darkness, casting eerie shadows on the walls. Every step creaked under my weight, sounding unnervingly loud in the quiet house. When I reached the bottom, I hesitated. The noise had come from the kitchen. Swallowing my fear, I edged toward the door, the smell of mildew and old wood heavy in the air. The kitchen was a mess. Pans and utensils lay scattered on the floor, and the cupboard doors were flung open. My heart pounded in my chest as I scanned the room, the flashlight's beam trembling in my hand. Then I saw it, the basement door was ajar. I never went into the basement. It was an old part of the house, damp and filled with shadows, and it always felt wrong. But tonight, the pull was irresistible. As if compelled by a force beyond my understanding, I approached the door. The air grew colder with each step, and a sense of deep unease settled over me. When I reached the threshold, a chill wind blew up from the depths, carrying with it a faint, almost forgotten scent of decay. I shone the flashlight down the stairs. They descended into darkness, the light unable to penetrate the thick black that seemed to consume everything below. I hesitated, my instinct screaming at me to run, to flee this place and never look back. But then, from deep within the shadows, I heard it, a soft sobbing, so filled with sorrow and pain that it rooted me to the spot. The crying echoed up the stairs, bouncing off the walls and filling the space with its melancholy. I couldn't move, couldn't think. All I could do was listen as the sobbing grew louder, closer. With each step I took down those stairs, the air grew colder, the whispers returned, now clear enough for me to understand. Leave, go back. They said, over and over, a desperate plea. But I couldn't. Something was down there, something trapped in the darkness, and it was calling to me. The wooden steps groaned under my weight as I descended further, the flashlight flickering erratically in my hand. Then, abruptly, it died, plunging me into complete darkness. I stood there, frozen, my breath echoing loudly in the claustrophobic space. The sobbing had stopped. There was only silence, a thick, oppressive silence that seemed to weigh on me. Just when I thought I couldn't take it anymore, a light flickered in the depths of the basement. It was dim, barely more than a candle's flame, but it was enough to draw me deeper into the darkness. As I moved toward it, the floor beneath me felt unstable, as though it might give way at any moment. The air was thick with the smell of mold and something else, something cloying and sweet. The light grew brighter as I approached, revealing an old oil lamp set on a wooden table. Beside it lay a book, its cover worn and pages yellowed with age. I reached out, my hand trembling, and opened it. The writing inside was faded, but I could just make out the words, scrawled in a frantic, uneven hand. "The shadows have eyes, and they watch," it read. "They see all, know all. Do not trust the light, it is not what it seems." I stared at the words, a cold dread creeping up my spine. The lamp flickered, casting long, twisted shadows on the walls. They seemed to move, to writhe in the dim light, and I realized with a start that they were getting closer. A sudden noise from behind made me spin around, the book falling from my hands. There, in the flickering light of the lamp, stood a figure. It was shrouded in darkness, its features indistinct, but its eyes burned bright, a deep, malevolent red that seemed to pierce right through me. "I've been waiting for you," it whispered, its voice a hiss that filled the room. "You should not have come here." The rain outside had stopped, the sudden silence from the world above making the basement feel even more isolated, more cut off. I backed away, my heart pounding in my chest, but the figure advanced, the shadows twisting and turning around it like living things. The air in the basement chilled to an icy caress, and every instinct in my body screamed for me to flee, to escape the creeping darkness that seemed to suffocate the very light around me. Yet, the figure advanced, its steps silent but its presence overwhelmingly oppressive. Its eyes, glowing with a hellish light, fixed on me, pinning me in place. "You cannot escape," it said, its voice a murmur that seemed to come from everywhere at once. "You are now part of this place." Desperate, I looked around for any means of escape, but the shadows seemed to close in around me, thickening into a tangible darkness that I could almost feel brushing against my skin. The figure drew closer, and I could see now that it was not entirely solid, its edges blurring and shifting as if made of smoke and shadow. "Why me?" I managed to choke out, my voice trembling as much as my hands. "You called to us," it replied, its voice a chilling echo in the now silent basement. "Your fear, your curiosity, they summoned us." I shook my head, disbelief mingling with the mounting dread. "I didn't mean to. I didn't know." "It does not matter," the figure hissed. "Intentions are irrelevant. You opened the door, and now you must face what lies beyond." Panic surged through me, a wild, primal thing that clawed at my insides. I needed to get out, needed to escape the darkness that seemed to seep into my very bones. But my feet were rooted to the spot, frozen by the chilling presence of the apparition before me. Suddenly, the light from the lamp intensified, flaring up with a brilliance that was almost blinding. Shadows danced wildly around the room, their movements erratic and seemingly disjointed from any natural source. The figure recoiled, its form wavering as if the light were somehow anathema to it. Seizing the moment, I lunged for the stairs, stumbling in my haste. Behind me, I could hear the figure's enraged howl, a sound that seemed to vibrate through the very air. "You cannot run from what you've awoken," it screamed, its voice a terrifying blast that sent shivers down my spine. I scrambled up the stairs, the old wood groaning under my frantic steps. Reaching the top, I slammed the door shut and leaned against it, my breath coming in harsh, ragged gasps. I could hear something scratching at the door, a soft, insistent sound that spoke of a malevolent patience. I slid to the floor, my back pressed against the door, as I tried to collect my thoughts. What had I unleashed? What had I become a part of? The house was silent now, the rain outside having stopped at some point during my descent into the basement. The silence was oppressive, heavy with unspoken threats and the weight of my own racing thoughts. I needed to leave, to get away from this place, but something told me it wasn't going to be that easy. The scratching at the door continued, a constant reminder of the horror just beyond. I knew I couldn't stay here, pressed against the door like some cornered animal. Gathering my courage, I stood, my legs shaky but holding. I needed a plan, something to help me escape the nightmare I'd found myself in. "Think," I muttered to myself, pacing the hallway. The house felt different now, as if it had been altered by the night's events. It was no longer the home I had known, but something other, something darker. As I moved through the house, every shadow seemed to watch me, every creak of the old building a whispered threat. I needed light, more light than the failing flashlight could provide. Making my way to the living room, I fumbled for the matches I knew were on the mantel. Lighting several candles, I placed them around the room, their flickering flames casting uneasy shadows against the walls. The light was a small comfort, but it made me feel marginally better, more in control. As I turned to survey the room, my eye caught on something that hadn't been there before. On the coffee table, lying innocently amongst the various magazines and remote controls, was a small, old key. It was rusted and looked ancient, its origins a complete mystery. Curiosity piqued despite the danger. I picked it up, turning it over in my hand. It was heavy, solid, and oddly warm to the touch. As I examined it, a cold breeze swept through the room, despite all the windows being closed. The candles flickered wildly, casting dancing shadows that seemed almost alive. Then, from upstairs, came a sound that froze my blood. A slow, deliberate thumping, as of footsteps descending the staircase. But these were no ordinary footsteps. They echoed with a hollow, doom-laden quality that spoke of something old, something evil. I clutched the key tightly, a sudden instinct telling me it was important, perhaps even vital, for my survival. The footsteps grew louder, closer. I backed away from the staircase, my eyes fixed on the dark space at the top where I knew something would soon appear. The air grew colder, the atmosphere charged with a palpable sense of dread. What appeared at the top of the stairs made my heart stop, my breath catch in my throat. It was a figure, like the one from the basement, but different, more defined, its features sharper and infinitely more terrifying. Its eyes burned like coals in a sunken, gaunt face, and it stared directly at me, a malevolent grin splitting its features. "You cannot hide," it said, its voice a bone-chilling whisper that seemed to echo inside my own head. "You cannot escape what you've invited in." The figure began to descend the stairs, its movements slow and deliberate, each step a measured torment as it came closer. I backed away, the key in my hand my only comfort. What power did it hold? What could it unlock? As the figure reached the bottom of the stairs, the candles blew out in unison, plunging the room into darkness. Only the faint glow of the key in my hand illuminated the encroaching shadows, casting an eerie light on the advancing figure. I knew then that this was only the beginning, the start of a nightmare that I had unwittingly become a part of. What lay ahead, I could not say, but I knew I had to find a way to fight, to survive the horrors that awaited. And so, with the darkness closing in and the figure nearly upon me, I prepared to face whatever came next, the key my only weapon against the encroaching shadows. With the faint glow of the key as my guide, I faced the approaching figure, its malevolent grin widening as it drew closer. Its footsteps, though silent, resonated with a dread that seemed to vibrate through the very floorboards, each step a pronounced echo in the charged air of the room. I backed away slowly, the key held out before me as if it could somehow ward off the darkness that slithered around the edges of the room. "Who are you?" I demanded, my voice cracking under the strain. "What do you want from me?" The figure halted, tilting its head as if amused by my questions. "I am a keeper of secrets, a guardian of this place," it responded, its voice a sinister whisper that seemed to crawl along my skin. "And you are the key to unleashing what has been long contained." I stumbled back, the implication of its words sending a fresh wave of terror through me. This creature, this guardian, was linked to the house, to the very darkness that now seemed to consume everything. The key in my hand suddenly felt heavier, as if it bore the weight of a dreadful truth I had yet to fully comprehend. The air thickened, becoming almost tangible in its oppressiveness as the figure advanced once more. Shadows clung to it like a shroud, swirling around its form in a dance of darkness. My heart pounded in my chest, each beat a loud drum in the quiet of the room. I needed to escape, to find a way out, but my legs refused to move, frozen by the chilling presence before me. "Just leave me alone," I shouted, the desperation clear in my voice. But the figure merely chuckled, a sound that was both horrifying and despairing. "You cannot escape your fate," it intoned. "You have opened the door, and now you must walk the path." The room grew colder, a chill wind whispering through unseen cracks, carrying with it the scent of decay and old secrets. I shivered, not just from the cold but from the realization that I was entwined in something far beyond my understanding. The key seemed to pulse in my hand, its glow intensifying as if in response to the presence of the guardian. Suddenly, the house shook, a deep rumbling that seemed to come from the very foundations. Dust fell from the ceiling, and the few remaining candles flickered wildly, their flames dancing as if in panic. The shadows retreated slightly, congregating around the guardian as it stood its ground, the grin never leaving its face. "This is just the beginning," it whispered. The awakening has started, and it cannot be undone. I felt a pull, an inexplicable force drawing me toward the guardian. It was as if the key and the creature were connected by some invisible thread, pulling me into the heart of the darkness. With every step, the key grew warmer, almost hot, its light now a beacon in the gloom. I stopped just a few feet away from the figure, the key now burning in my hand. I could see the guardian more clearly, its features etched with ancient lines, eyes deep pools of darkness that seemed to draw me in. It reached out a hand, and I instinctively knew it wanted the key. "No," I said, the word a whisper but firm. "I don't understand all of this, but I won't help you continue whatever this is." The guardian's smile faltered, its eyes narrowing. "You cannot choose to walk away now," it said, its voice a threatening hiss. "You are part of this, bound to it as surely as the key is bound to you." I felt the key tug at my hand, almost as if it were alive, eager to join with the guardian. But I held on, my grip tightening despite the burning heat. I couldn't let this creature have what it wanted, not until I understood what it meant for me, for this house. "You must make a choice," the guardian said, stepping closer. "Will you stand against the coming darkness, or will you fall with it?" The house trembled again, more violently this time. Cracks spiderwebbed across the walls, and a low moan echoed through the building, as if it were in pain. The air grew denser, heavier, filled with the promise of unspeakable things to come. I stood my ground, the key now a torch in the encroaching darkness. "I will not let you use this for evil," I declared, though my voice trembled with the weight of my fear. The guardian laughed, a sound that chilled me to the bone. "Very well," it said. "Then witness the power of what you defy." With a wave of its hand, the shadows surged forward, enveloping the room, the guardian, and me in an impenetrable darkness. I could feel them swirling around me, cold and unyielding, as the guardian's laughter echoed in the void. The key's light flickered but remained steadfast, a single point of resistance in the overwhelming dark. I clutched it, feeling its heat and light as a lifeline, as around me the shadows pressed closer, their cold embrace promising oblivion. And in that darkness, with the guardian's laughter ringing in my ears, I prepared for what would come next, unsure of my fate but resolved to face it head-on. The story of this night, of the key and the guardian, was far from over. And I, caught in the middle, was ready to play my part in the unfolding drama, whatever the cost. The shadows tightened around me like a noose, each tendril cold and suffocating. In the pitch black, the guardian's chilling laughter seemed to come from everywhere, echoing off unseen walls and filling the air with dread. The key in my hand burned fiercely now, its light a beacon in the oppressive darkness, flickering yet defiant. "Your light will fade," the guardian's voice taunted from the shadows, "and darkness will reign." But as fear threatened to overwhelm me, a spark of resolve ignited within. This house, this guardian, had underestimated the power of the light, of the human spirit to fight against the dark. Clutching the key, I felt its warmth spread up my arm, energizing me, giving me the strength I didn't know I possessed. "I will not be overcome," I declared, my voice steady despite the terror clawing at my mind. I focused on the light from the key, willing it to grow brighter, to push back the encroaching darkness. To my astonishment, the light responded. It flared up, brilliant and blinding, casting long shadows away from its radiance. The guardian hissed in pain, the light searing it, burning away the darkness that formed its cloak. "You cannot do this," it shrieked, its form beginning to waver and dissipate like smoke in a strong wind. "I can and I will," I shouted back, empowered by the weakening of my foe. The key's light grew even more intense, piercing through the darkness like a spear through shadow. I advanced, holding the key out like a shield, driving the guardian back. The shadows writhed and twisted, trying to escape the light, but they were being consumed, evaporated by the purity and strength of the key's glow. The guardian, now a mere wisp of its former self, cowered before me, its eyes, the only part of it still clearly visible, filled with hatred and fear. "This is not the end," it warned, its voice a mere whisper, fading into nothingness. "Others will come for the key." "Let them come," I replied with newfound confidence. "I'll be ready." As the last of the guardian vanished, the oppressive atmosphere lifted, and light seemed to flood back into the house. The normal sounds of the night returned, and I realized the storm had passed. Dawn was breaking, the first light of the day filtering through the windows, casting warm, golden hues that contrasted sharply with the night's horrors. Exhausted but alive, I sank to the floor, the key still in hand. It had cooled now, its light dimmed to a soft glow. It seemed so ordinary now, but I knew better. I had seen its power, felt its fire. It was a part of me now, and I knew my life had changed forever. In the days that followed, I researched the history of the house, the key, and the guardian. The more I learned, the more I realized how deep the roots of darkness ran, but now I had a purpose. I had faced the darkness and prevailed, and I would do so again. The key had chosen me, or perhaps I had chosen it. Now, I prepare. I fortify the house, gather knowledge, and ready myself for whatever comes next. The key is always with me, a constant companion and a reminder of that night. The guardian's parting words often echo in my mind, a lingering threat, but also a challenge. I am no longer just a survivor, I am a guardian in my own right. Ready to stand against the darkness, ready to keep the light burning. As the sun rises each day, I feel its warmth and see its light as a symbol of hope, a daily reaffirmation of my vow to stand watch, to protect the light against the encroaching darkness. The house, once a place of fear, is now a fortress, a beacon in the night. And so, life goes on, under the light of the key,